All right. Welcome to the
Man.
Domestic Draft Podcast. I'm Evan Bierman here with Dan Slowick. Dan, it's been a couple weeks. Happy to be back on the pod and talking a little bit of Cubs today. We got a guest coming on. But why don't you kick it off with what you're drinking first?
Yeah, and I just want to, just give you a shout out. Did a little birthday ski trip in Boise, and you kind of set up a nice little whiskey tasting for my birthday there. So appreciate that, man. Appreciate you. But the beer I have tonight, it's a California staple. The brewery's called Ballast Point. It's pretty much like them and Stone are some of the biggest breweries here. Really quick about Ballast Point. It started in 1992 with the founder, Jack White, who was a college student at the time, who was a home brewer. He started his own home brew mart, is what it was called, in San Diego, and he would kind of just give supplies to fellow home brewers. 4 years later, his college roommate started working at Home Brew Mart, and they kind of got the idea to make their own brewing company, and they named it Ballast Point after a historical site here in San Diego. You go 8 years down the road there, they just blow up, right? Increasing demand. They got to move from the facility to Scripps Ranch, and ever since, right, it's been one of the biggest breweries in San Diego. And in 2019, Chicago-based Kings and Convicts Brewing Company purchased Ballast Point from Constellation Brands for an undisclosed amount, signaling a new chapter for the brewery. So sold everything in 2019. The beer I have is a Kolsch. It's called California Kolsch, man. It's the German-style pale ale. Super crisp, refreshing. If you know a Colt, if you've had a Kolsch before, you know it's got that crisp bite to it. But the brewing process for this one, it's hopped like a lager, but it's also fermented like an ale. So that's why it's got that crisp finish. It's got a 3.5 or out of 5 on Untapped. Can't go wrong with California Kolsch. It's nice, easy, refreshing. What about you? What do you got, man? That's Ballast Point.
Nice. Yeah, I got a Chicago favorite, Funky Town Brewing. They're out of Chicago. They're one of the city's only Black-owned breweries, founded in 2021 by 3 lifelong friends and home brewers from Oak Park. They initially operated out of what I would say was my home brewery at the time when I lived in the city, Pilot Project Brewing. They're a brewery incubator out of Logan Square. If you don't know them, check them out. Funky Town Brewing, they had rapid growth. Within the first year, their beers in major venues like Soldier Field, United Center. They got retail partnerships with Whole Foods, Mariano's. And then more recently, actually within the last month and a half here, they announced they have a contract to buy a vacant industrial building on Lake Street right next to the United Center. So they're going to include a little beer garden there as well. Their first spot, their first standalone facility. They're going to brew, distribute, and sell, all from in that same operation there. Check out Funky Town Brewing if you got it locally. Pick it up. This is Woo Wop Da Bam, which is a Chicago slang term, but it's that's what the beer is called. It's a 3.65 on Untapped. Maybe Eugene, our guest, could fill us a little bit on that. But it's 5.6%. It's American Amber, toffee, bread crust, banana flavors. It's really good. Really easy drinking beer. So I mentioned we got a guest. We're talking Cubs today. We got Eugene McIntosh joining us again. You can find him on Twitter at It's the Bigs. He's a managing editor, co-founder of the Bigs Media, and a member of the Baseball Writers Association of America. Eugene, thanks so much for giving us more of your time. You've been on a couple times. We're always happy to have you back on.
Man, anytime, man. I told you guys, I'm always a DM away, man. Sorry for my lack of lighting in the background. I'm actually in my car coming from the Simeon and Kenwood sectional game out at Hinsdale Central. So I'm on my way to the crib. But like I said, always great to touch down with you guys, man.
Yep. Appreciate you having on, man, on the show. IHSA basketball is something I hold dear to my heart, being a player, playing high school hoops in Illinois. You're covering the game still. One of the best players to come out of that state, out of that city, is Derrick Rose. So just going back a little bit to Derrick Rose night at the UC a couple weeks back, I saw some kind of footage on the big socials, showing you courtside, dapping up with Derrick, having a moment, maybe talking to him a little bit here and there. I'm just curious kind of what your relationship is with Derrick and kind of where you guys stand right now, and kind of what your thoughts are about him as a player and him representing Chicago.
Well, that moment was just a culmination of all of the years of coverage. And, I actually knew Derrick as an 8th grader when he was coming out of Beasley Academic Center. I actually graduated from Beasley as well. So when I was at Mount Carmel, our coach was actually trying to recruit Derrick to come to Mount Carmel. So he asked me if I could help him out a little bit. So I did some research, went and talked to Derrick, went and talked to our old elementary school coach, and he told me that Derrick had already had his high school chosen, which ended up being Simeon. So that was that. So I've got a long history with him, but then, him, coming to the Bulls and us covering him for his last 2 years there, and then just keeping the relationship, building the relationship over the time he was in Minnesota and New York and Memphis as well. A lot of people thought that, he may come back home and retire as a Bull, maybe, do that one day, sign a one-day contract and finish up as a Bull. It didn't happen that way, but shout out to Jerry Reinsdorf and everybody in charge over there in the Bulls organization for giving him that Derrick Rose night, then ultimately, having a jersey retirement coming next year. So, Derrick is one of the best guys of all time, one of the better guys to come across in the league. He's always been genuine. And for us, he understood the mission from jump, man. Derrick was always open and always willing to give us a moment of his time whenever. And Derrick was really the reason why the Bigs were able to kind of, get our foot in the door, because I'll tell you guys the story. So our first day on the beat, fresh, I don't know what's going on. I'm kind of just soaking everything in, just trying to get my feet wet. So Derrick comes to the podium. He addresses the media. He gets done. He's walking back on the floor, about to go get some shots up with Fred Hoiberg. So I kind of I go for what I know, right? I scream out, I say, "Hey, Pooh." So he kind of looked, and that kind of got his ear. That got his attention, right? So he looked my way. I kind of waved to him. I'm like, "Man, come through." So as he got close, I said, "Man, I'm a Mr. Green disciple." Mr. Green was our elementary school coach at Beasley.
Okay.
So I said, "Man, I'm a Mr. Green disciple." He's like, "Man, you went to Beasley?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Man, I'm Eugene. It's my partner, Terrence. We're the Bigs. This is our first year on the beat, man." Before I could even get my spiel out, he took my phone out of my hand, put his number in my phone, and said, "Man, whatever y'all need, however I can help y'all out, don't hesitate to hit me up." And that's what we did, man. That's what we did. And we ended up keeping in touch. And he was like, "Man, the best way for you guys to get what you need to get is to come on the road." So we took a road trip, went out there. We took the last 2 trips to LA. So we did the Clippers and the Lakers series, which ended up being Kobe Bryant's last year. How this comes full circle. So ended up going out there, got to hang out with Derrick outside of the court, met up with him at a practice, and ultimately we ended up getting an interview with him post Lakers game, which ended up doing like 100,000 views in the first night. And people always saying, "Man, we never saw Derrick Rose that comfortable in an interview." And to me, it was obvious why, because, we share some things in common. And like I said, that was really how we kind of got our foot in the door with Derrick Rose. So I could go on and on and on, man, but big shout out to Derrick, one of the better guys in the league. And great job by the Reinsdorf family giving him this special day coming next year.
That's awesome.
Really
it's great,
special.
It's great to hear that too, and just hear him kind of open up. And the media, I feel like, always didn't really give him too fair of a shake of like who he was, and I think it's because he kind of kept his cards close to his chest, and now he's like showing how much he loves the game of chess, and he's kind of that thoughtful person that needs time to reflect and doesn't just kind of want to go right away and give that answer. So really cool to see that relationship there.
That was really and that was the one thing I meant to say. It was, Derrick's done a lot on the court, obviously youngest MVP, 3-time All-Star, all of these different things. But my most memorable moment of Derrick is watching him become the guy that he is today, kind of finding himself. Sometimes it takes an injury, or sometimes it takes some negatives to turn something into a positive. And he took that knee injury and he took all the scrutiny and all the, everything he heard from the fans and the media. He kind of took it in stride and found himself and came out on the other side. And if you'd have told me back in 2011 when he tore his ACL that he would have had a 14, 15-year NBA career after that, I would have told you were crazy. So big shout out to him for, showing and proving and overcoming those obstacles, man.
And those are some of my best memories as a Bulls fan too. Just the Derrick Rose year is just incredible. I feel like he meant so much to the city. It's really great to see him come back and get that special moment there too, and for you to be there, it's awesome. In the bigs, talked about Bigs start. and to where you guys are now, I feel like you're a big player in the game, right? I mean, I love watching Herb cover the Bears too, but your Cubs coverage, I think, is fantastic. And so we want to ask you some Cubs stuff today. I feel like spring training going on. There's a lot of questions with this team. They're interesting questions because Pacoda projections, it's tough to say, for this season, they have them winning 90 plus games. This team doesn't look like a 90 plus game, winning team. So I think that's where, my first question goes is, does this team have enough to win 90 games? Kyle Tucker is the big acquisition.
Yeah.
Is he enough? Do they have enough superstars? What do you think?
Man, to be honest, man, I think there is some optimism there. Give Jed Hoyer a little bit of credit. I've been on Jed's back the last couple of years because I don't think he's done enough, and it's not just on him. I think, and I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I don't sugarcoat. I don't hold back. I don't think Tom Ricketts I don't think Tom fully believes in Jed. That's why he hasn't opened up his pocketbook like a lot of fans think he should have. And that's a whole nother conversation we can have if y'all want to get into that. But give Jed credit for going out. And, I mean, this is his last year of his contract. So look at him like a player in their contract year. They got to go all out to try to, get a new contract. So I do give Jed credit for going out, making those moves to get Kyle Tucker. I think they've loaded up in the bullpen. I do think they've got you can never have enough arms. So they did do a good job getting some depth in the bullpen. And again, Kyle Tucker's contract year. So I definitely think he's going to come out and have a big year. And, the last couple of years, man, baseball is one of those sports where things kind of have to go your way. And the last couple of years, things just haven't gone the Cubs' way. We can look at, some of the player performances. You can look at the way Wrigley Field has played out the last couple of years. So I think maybe the tide turns this year for the Cubs. Maybe they do get some of those wins that they brought Craig Counsell in for. Maybe he gets those 8 or 9 wins that they didn't think David Ross could get them, and maybe that gets them to 90 wins. So I kind of don't – I look at Pacoda. I don't pay too much attention to it. But I do think there's some optimism for Cubs fans to look at this team. I mean, they're the odds-on favorites to win the NL Central. I do think that they should run away with the NL Central. But 90 wins, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that things go their way and they get 90, 91, 92 wins.
Okay.
That's the hope, right? But I don't know. Chicago sports has been so shitty lately. And all of our teams have been in the trash, and it's like you got to sell the optimism of the Cubs. And we've had this conversation so many times, and it's basically what I feel like is Jed Hoyer's philosophy is if these players play to their potential or even better, then we got ourselves a good team. He doesn't really build too much of a floor. All of these people have to produce at their expectation and more in order for this team to be successful. And, I don't know why, last couple of years it didn't go their way. Like, what's different this year? Maybe it is Craig Counsell's second year as a manager. He's more comfortable with everything and everybody within that building. But there are some injuries, right? Like Nico Horner still recovering. Matt Shaw, like our third baseman, like that's a huge question mark. We were all in on the Bregman sweepstakes. We were wanting maybe to have somebody there while Matt Shaw can kind of, take some lumps and go along his rookie way. But he's looking like the starting third baseman, and he's coming out of an oblique injury. Just started playing recently, last game or two. But like, how do you feel about those kind of positions? And especially, let's just focus on Matt Shaw here. Like the hot corner rookie, he's a high touted prospect. Is he going to be up to snuff for this challenge to be a playoff contending starting third baseman? Or should the Cubs look? They added Justin Turner at DH, but I don't think he's got any juice left in him to play third base. That's such a vital position there. I don't know why we didn't go out and get somebody else. But what do you think about all that with Matt Shaw there? Is he ready for it? And will Turner be at third? And what's kind of his role on this team?
Well, we've seen those the last couple of years, what starting the season with oblique injuries have done.
Yep.
Specifically Seiya Suzuki and now Matt Shaw. I'm one of those guys, man, where that farm system, throw them in the fire, man. If these guys are top their top 100, their top two, maybe Matt Shaw is the top guy in the farm. Throw him in the fire and let him go for it, man. But it was good to see him play this past weekend, and maybe he'll make that trip to Japan and finally get under those bright lights and see what it's really like when you got to face the Dodgers right out the gate, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm fine with Matt Shaw starting at third. I think that's why you bring in a guy like Justin Turner. Obviously, we don't want him getting a bunch of reps at third, but he is a guy that's, his resume speaks for itself. So if you do need him to fill in for a few games over there, I think that's possible. But that's also why you have guys like you signed John Birdie and what's the other guy?
Workman and
Workman.
Yeah.
So you got a couple guys. Even I don't think. Well, obviously they want Michael Bush to play first, but you got a couple guys that could fill in. So if Matt Shaw does go down, if he does start the season hot and then he finds one of those spells, which he's gonna find some of those cold spells a couple times during the season. You got a guy like Birdie, you got a guy like Workman who hopefully can come in and fill in. I don't think he's played any higher than AA. Am I right?
Gage?
Workman, I don't think he's played AAA. So another guy that you'll probably just throw in the fire if he makes the 40-man. So I'm optimistic, man. I've been a pessimist the last few years, especially when they let that last year they let Ross go. Yep. But I do think Kyle Tucker's a top 15 player in the game, and I do think there'll be a few games where he'll be able to, put those guys on his back and get a couple wins by himself. But again, I think the biggest addition this offseason was adding pitching depth. We got a fully healthy Dansby Swanson coming back. I'm not sure, like you guys said, if Nico is going to start the season on the mend, but, getting his arm right. And PCA. We don't know about PCA yet. Hopefully, I'm sure we all like what we saw the last maybe month or two of the season. I think the couple things he has to work on going forward is just getting on base, drawing more walks, whether he's hitting 1 or 9 in the lineup, he's got to be able to get on base more. And I think we'll see his power numbers go up. I think this year he could be a 15 to 20 home run guy. And if those guys can come through, you got Seiya. Hopefully he buys in on the DH side. Pretty much know what you're going to get out of Ian Happ. I like what I saw from Miguel Amaya finishing up the season. So the pieces are there. We'll see if Michael Bush can one-up his almost Rookie of the Year season. And we'll see what we got, man. But I'm sure Craig Counsell feels a lot more comfortable now coming back in his second year. He's got a bunch of guys around him that he knows now. And I think he's more comfortable with the coaching staff. But, again, contract years for Tucker and Jed Hoyer. So we'll see how this thing plays out. They got to get off to a quick start, though.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think a lot of Cubs fans haven't really put those two together, right? That Jed's contract and Tucker's contract line up, because everyone said, well, you just traded for Tucker. Let's re-sign him. Let's get this long-term deal going. But I think in the background, it's more of where they're assessing, are we sticking with Jed? Are we sticking with this plan? And I think at the end of the season, maybe that's when all of those questions are going to get answered. Or maybe if they get off to a hot start, like you said, halfway through the season, they can say confidently, okay, this is the right way to go. The signing that I really like is John Birdie. You mentioned him a little bit here. Super utility guy. He's going to be able to play second, short, third. They got injuries that are happening all the time, right? Nico, Shaw, we'll see what happens. Obliques are tough, like you said. But I like that Birdie. They got him for pretty cheap. 2 years ago, hit 294 in 133 games. So he's got some reps out there. Kind of a weird career for him, not getting to the majors till he was 28. And so at this point, he's, going to be 35. But the last couple of years, he's hit pretty well. So I do like to see that and to at least have some depth there. And I like Brujan as well. What is your thoughts on Brujan? He was a former top prospect for the Rays. Another guy that they're kind of taking a chance on here and can play almost like a super utility role, second, third, potentially a little bit of short too.
I agree with you 100%. It's just like you said, injuries are going to happen, man. And what I was saying, I was having a conversation with some guys down in spring training, Sahadev and Patrick Mooney from the Athletic. And I was just basically saying to them, if the Cubs can, I would say 135 to 140 games, out of those guys, out of their main guys, I think they'll be in good hands. But again, having a guy like Birdie, having a guy like Bruhan that you can spread all over the field if a couple of those guys do go down for longer stretches. You know, some guys are going to hit the 10-day IL a couple times, but if they can avoid, you know, those 60s and those 90s, and, you know, you have a couple guys that you can throw in and that can fill those utility spots at any time, I feel like they'll be in good spots. So, again, give Jed Hoyer and those guys credit for going out and filling the needs that, you know, like you said, the way that they want to play baseball. We don't have a bunch of sluggers out there that are going to hit the ball over the fence like that. So we need guys that are going to put the ball in play, leave the you know, the next man behind to just do his job and keep those bases moving. So I'm just interested to see which way the starting pitching.
I was just going to bring it up, Eugene. I was just going to bring up this starting rotation and what it's going to look like.
Yeah, man. There's not a lot. You know, this is a velo league now, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't have too many guys that are hitting upper 90s. We got Steele, and we got Shoda, and we got Tyon,
Jameson and Matthew Boyd. That's your four.
You know, and then hopefully if Ben, we don't know what's going on with Ben Brown. I know he's a high velo guy. Had one of the best curveballs in baseball. So if Ben Brown can kind of get back and find himself, then I think they'll shape up pretty good. I'm wondering how Shoda's going to come back. You know, that a lot of the scouts and a lot of the projections are that the hitters are going to make that adjustment, and Shoda's not going to have that season that he had last year. So I'm interested to see it, man. But the starting pitcher, Justin Steele coming back, he's a guy I think that can. I think he'll be. Shoda is getting the start, right? He's getting the season opener, right? I
believe so. Yeah. They got him listed as the one.
But I do think Justin Steele is going to be the guy that they kind of rely on. If there's a cold spell or two, he'll be the guy to kind of get them back on track. I think he's added another pitch to his rotation. So, yeah, man, starting pitching, like we said, you can never have enough arms. So give them the depth on the relief side, but the starters, man, it's going to be a huge factor in which way these guys go. If we get that 82, 83 wins again, or if they get that 91, 92 to mid 90s.
Yeah. I think starting pitching is one of my biggest question marks on this team. They did sign a lot of arms into the bullpen because it was terrible last year, lack of a better word there. But I'm curious too, like Jed's last year, like Evan talked about, he did a lot of acquisitions this offseason. You know, this team's going to be looking to add. This is going to be adding at the trade deadline. Yeah. So I'm curious too. That's probably they're going to be looking for maybe. I mean, unless Ben Brown comes in and sets the world on fire, they're probably looking for another starting pitcher here, at least another starting arm, because 182, it's a lot of games, battle of attrition. You look at the teams last year in the playoffs, they're just struggling to find pitchers to go out there and throw. So we're going to need to see some more arms here. I'm wondering if there's any arms in the system that we know of, or if you had maybe your eye on somebody out there on a team who's in his last year, or he's looking to get moved. Are any other pitchers that you could see the Cubs going out and getting? I know it's super early season as it started, but I don't know. It's worth a shot. Eugene, you know any pitchers you'd want to see on this roster?
Caleb Killian, man.
Yeah.
Caleb Killian. Come on, man. Again, we talk about this farm and we talk about this system and we talk about player development. It's time for Caleb Killian to show improve, man. He's had a couple spot starts here. He's gotten called up a couple times. We saw he has the stuff, but now it's about getting acclimated to the system and being a guy that can go out there every 5 days, take the mound, and do what you need to do. So, Jed did speak at spring training a couple days ago, and he said he was happy with the way the starting pitching is going to line up. And obviously, like you guys said, this is one of those years where we see it every year, man. Guys get to the playoffs and you get to the World Series, and all the pitching is depleted. Like, guys are out there on fumes, so there'll always be a couple teams that have no shot at playoffs, and they're trying to load up the farm. So I'm pretty sure there'll be an arm or two that the Cubs can be looking for around the trade deadline. But again, it's all about where they are. I think you chop the season up into thirds, and about around that second third is probably right around that All-Star break, coming out of the All-Star break, when it's probably maybe 3 weeks to a month before the deadline, and that's when you kind of start shaping up, looking to see exactly what you need to add. So, again, health is wealth, man. Health is wealth, and if those guys can stay healthy, still had that arm injury last year, and again, if they can stay healthy, if they can avoid those long IL stints, I think, again, I'm a huge Kyle Tucker guy, man. I don't know if y'all know, but I'm letting you guys know I've been a huge Kyle Tucker guy the last 2 or 3 years.
Can you sell me on him? Because he's the one guy that we signed him and everyone's like, he's great, but I haven't, maybe it's just because I didn't watch a lot of Houston Astro games. Like, sell me on this guy. You said he was a top 20, top 15 player in the whole entire league. Like, tell me why.
Easily. He's top 15. He's a top 15 player in the league. He's an outstanding outfielder. He's outstanding. You might have 3 Gold Gloves in the NL this year coming out of Wrigley Field.
Okay.
He's outstanding. He's outstanding in right field. His bat speaks for itself, doesn't it? He's done it at the highest level. We've seen him in the World Series. He hits both sides of the plate. He can hit for power. He can spray the ball all over the field. And this guy's he's gonna swipe 30 bags for you. He's gonna swipe 30 bags for you, man. So he's a triple threat. He's a triple threat, man. Again, top 15 player in the league. Obviously, you got Shohei, you got your Mookie Betts. Obviously, you got your Mike Trouts and those guys, but he's right there. He's right there, man. And I think Cubs fans are gonna be excited when they see exactly what this guy brings to the team. He's not a rah-rah guy. You're not going to get much out of him. He looks like a lawyer or an attorney or, your physics teacher or somebody like that. So I just love what Kyle Tucker brings. I think I'm going to go down to spring training when they come back from Tokyo for the last maybe 3 or 4 days, and I'll kind of get a feel for him. I talked to him a little bit at CubsCon. Cool guy, was down to earth. One of those guys that's always willing to give you time if he has it. So I think Cubs fans are going to be, they're going to be super happy when they finally get to see him at Wrigley Field and see exactly what he brings to the team. But I'm telling you now, he might even inch his way into the top 10 MLB players this year.
All right, man. Maybe that's it. Maybe he just doesn't have any of that swagger that I'm looking forward to have. My superstar.
That's it.
Speaking of Tiger, back when the Cubs were, winning the World Series, we had guys like Javi Baez, Chris Bryant comes up. We got, some big names in the farm system. This farm system doesn't feel that way, though it's, still highly regarded. There's a couple big names, though. One in particular that I like is Moises Ballesteros. I'm curious what your thoughts are on him. And then I like Alcantara as well. Do either of those guys have a shot to make this, the team right out of spring training here, or do you think we'll see them at some point this year?
I don't think Ballesteros comes out. I think he needs another year. I think he needs another year down just to get some more reps under his belt. But Alcantara, he's gotten rave reviews from the guys. I tap in with some of the guys, like I said, mostly Sahadev Sharma and Patrick Mooney down in spring training. They've been raving about Alcantara, just an overall really good feel for the game. Obviously, it's just spring training. He's going to come up with these big guys and he's going to have to make that immediate adjustment. But they've been, what's the word I can use?
They've been gushing over him.
Surprised, not surprised, because, the word has been out that this guy, I do think he's going to make the 40-man. I do think he's going to make the roster coming out of spring training. And, again, just one of those guys. Again, this is the way that Jed Hoyer wants to play the game. He just wants to have a bunch of good baseball players. Now, I don't know if I really agree with that. You have Kyle Tucker, who is a superstar, but I don't think you win. You don't make it to the mountaintop with just a bunch of really good players. You need some stars in that lineup. And I do think that, and again, one of those guys, when he came into CubsCon, he had the swag, he had the gold chains, he had the reptile loafers on. He didn't have any socks on. He had one of those suits that looked like it cost about $50,000. I'm like, this guy looks like a ball player. You know what I'm saying? So you look good, you play good. So I do think he's going to make the 40-man coming out, and I do expect big things out of him when he finally gets his shot.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think that's my guy. I like that guy, the Jaguar. We'll do like one more question and get you out of here, man. See, Sammy Sosa's back in the clubhouse, back at spring training. Like, what does
Yes,
this
sir.
mean to you as Cubs fans and us as Cubs fans? Like, is this a page turn? Are we going to see more of this? Is he having any actual tutelage to these players? Is he giving them mentorship? Like, what's going on with Sammy being back?
Well, it was long overdue. Shout out to Tom Ricketts for finally burying the hatchet and just smoothing that over, man. Look, that was 20 years ago. Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, Barry Bonds, those guys saved baseball, man. If you don't want them in the Hall of Fame, that's fine. I get a Hall of Fame vote in a couple of years, and if I could vote for those guys, I would put all of them in. Roger Clinton, hey, man, all the steroid users, throw them in the Hall, man. They're much worse guys in the Hall of Fame than those guys. So shout out to the Cubs for getting Sammy Sosa back into the building. Cubs Con was lit up when Sammy ran out on stage. And, hey, man, that was the era that Cubs Nation will have etched in their memories forever. So
Forever.
it was long overdue. It was long overdue. Finally saw Sammy down in spring training in the dugout, chopping it up with some guys. I'm not too sure how much input he has, but it's just good to see him around those guys. A lot of those guys, some of them weren't even born when that was going on. You know what I'm saying? So it's just good for him to be able to be there and pour into some of those younger guys. And, some money grab too. You bring Sammy back. Tom Ricketts ain't a fool, man. He ain't a billion. They're not billionaires by luck. So some money grab. So he'll have some Sammy Sosa days where, fans can come get some autographs or a bunch of different ways to make some money off of Sammy. But it was long overdue. And that was the era that I'll never forget, man.
Yeah, about time, right? So Baseball Writers Association of America, did you have a Hall of Fame vote this year?
I don't. You have to have 9 years in, and this is my 7th year. So I got 2 more years, but I have voted each year. They give us a vote. So last year I had, did I have Manager of the Year? I voted for MVP 1 year, Manager of the Year, Rookie of the Year. So I don't get a Hall of Fame vote until 27, I think. So it'll be around quicker. It'll be around quicker than I can imagine. So I'm just happy to be a part of the fraternity, man.
Yeah, you won't have an easier one than Ichiro Suzuki was. I think there was one person that didn't vote for him.
What an idiot, man. What an idiot, man. What an idiot, man.
Yeah, and I think you're a valuable voice for that organization, so they're lucky to have you. As we get you out of here, man, we gotta talk Bears, biggest team in Chicago, coaching staff overhaul. We got Thornton's very own Antoine Randall coming back and coaching on the team. How do we feel about all this? Are things looking up?
Okay, man. I'm still a pessimist on the Bears side, bros. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. I'm happy that they've started to move in the right direction. Obviously, Flus, we know the relationship that Flus and Ryan Poles has. So, we're gonna let that slide. We're gonna let them. Obviously, I think they're gonna give Ryan Poles an extension. They'll bring him back. I think he's done some great things in the past. Hiring Ben Johnson was definitely the right move. And now they got to let him put the pieces in play. Now it's about getting Caleb Williams, man, got to get the bad habits out of him right now. He had an okay season this year, but I saw a lot of bad habits from Caleb Williams where he held on to the ball too long. He would have a guy open right, in the flat or, a couple 3-yard dumps, but he wanted to be greedy and try to make the big play, and it ended up with him leading the league in sacks. So I think that's the number one thing for Ben Johnson is getting those bad habits out of Caleb Williams early, and then moving everything on from there, obviously shoring up that offensive line. I heard today Khalil Mack is interested in coming back, being a piece, not, being one of the main stars of the defense, but just being a piece. I think he just made 34 this year. So just coming back to, to fill in the pieces. So, just piecing this thing back together, man. I think hiring Ben Johnson was a great start, but I'm going to always be a Bears pessimist. At least I was around for the Super Bowl in '85. I did see the Super Bowl shuffle, and I'm always grateful for that. But it's been 40 years, man, and it's time for things to change. So what do you guys think?
Oh, man, you're lucky you got to see that one Super Bowl. I hear great things about it. It sounds awesome. I don't know.
I'm a pessimist
same with
too,
you,
man.
Pessimist as well.
Yeah. I'll believe it when I see it, man. We've
any
won
move
the
they make
we've
is
won
the
the
wrong
off
one.
season too many years in a row, and I'm sick and tired of the Bears media all in on these mocks and signings, and we won the off season yet again, and then we win 6 games.
Yeah.
When are y'all gonna get Herb back on, man? We had him at the combine this week. He's working on a piece about everything that went on down at the combine. So obviously he knows 100 times more Bears stuff than I do. So I'll tap in with him and get some backdoor info from him. But y'all should.
We had
Get
him
him
on a
back
few weeks ago. We had him at the beginning of February.
Oh damn! Well,
Yeah.
So obviously I'm not doing my job, right?
We'll get him on again. Don't worry. We love
Yeah.
having him on, man.
No,
yeah,
Herb's
he's
fantastic,
super
man.
tapped in.
For
Okay.
sure. And the combine's a good spot to send somebody right around now too. That's where all the rumors are flying right there. So there's a lot of good information that comes from that. For sure.
He made some good connections. He said he met some execs, met some agents, met some scouts and stuff. So I'm interested to see what he comes out with this piece he's gonna drop in a couple days.
That's awesome, man.
Same.
Well, thanks so much, Eugene, again for your time. Again, this is Eugene McIntosh. He's the managing editor, co-founder of the Bigs Media, and a member of the Baseball Writers Association of America. Find him on Twitter at It's the Bigs. Eugene, thanks again for your time, man.
Anytime, brothers, man. I appreciate you guys. Like I said, I'm always a DM away if you need me. And man, I appreciate what you guys do, man. Keep it funky, keep it original, man. We all have our own lanes that we feel, and we need to continue to support each other, man. When we reach out, stop being like these big wigs, and let's continue to support the underground, man. We just as important as those guys, man.
Definitely.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you, man.
All right, no doubt. Much love, man.
All right. Thanks again to our guest today, Eugene McIntosh. Again, he's the managing editor, co-founder of the Bigs Media, and a member of the BBWAA, the Baseball Writers of America Association of America. Just an awesome guest. Love having Eugene on. Super, super thoughtful and reflective, and just so gracious with his time. Evan, I got a question for you.
All right. What do you got?
Did you know that the Chicago Cubs have the second coming of Aaron Judge?
What?
Have you heard of Ivan Breathauer?
No.
Brethowr. There's a TikTok kind of clip going viral pretty much, comparing his stance, his mannerisms, his overall size, and just his pure power that he's been producing, calling him kind of like the next Aaron Judge. Just a little bit about Ivan Breathauer, and then we'll kind of get out of here. He went to UC Santa Barbara, the Gauchos. He is 6'6", 250 pounds, and his power measurements were just like off the charts. So go ahead and Google him after this show, and you, as you're listening, should look him up too, Ivan Breathauer. Look at that swing and look what he does to the baseball. It'll get you pretty excited. Maybe the Cubs got one here. No one's really talking about him in the pipeline quite yet. But that video, the next Aaron Judge in baseball, about a week ago on TikTok, is all over. I'll send it to you. Check them out.
Nice. I love it. All right. Well, that's our show. Thanks again to our guest, Eugene McIntosh, for joining us today. For Dan Slowick, I'm Evan Bierman. You've been listening to the Domestic Draft Podcast. If you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to rate the show. You can find us on Twitter at Domestic Draft, on Instagram at Domestic Draft Podcast. Our website is domesticdraft.com, and you can watch the show on YouTube. Just search up Domestic Draft and drop us a sub. Thanks again for listening. Cheers.
Cheers.